I can already imagine what the comment section of this video is going to be. Mike, 1, what happened to your background? Why do things look so different? And 2, why is your YouTube channel turning into a Russell Westbrook channel or a Los Angeles Lakers channel? Well, in this instance, it seems like Mark Stein decided to set the world on fire, and unfortunately for us, we actually take Mark Stein's word very, very seriously. There is a rumor that pertains to the Los Angeles Lakers trading for Jeremy Grant and trading for John Wall potentially. So before we get to the content, I want to let you guys know that, yeah, I officially moved. If you want to know the entire backstory of it, or if you want to see a house tour, it's going to go up on TheFlightMike TV. Make sure you're subscribed there. All my IRL stuff, all of that stuff is going to go there because I want to keep this channel strictly basketball. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. I absolutely love Fetch Rewards because it's an application that literally will make you free money in the form of gift cards. All you have to do is take out your phone and scan all of your receipts, whether they are digital or they are hard copies. Once you do that, you get points, and you can use those points to redeem gift cards and other cool prizes on their website. It's a great way to grind towards a new jersey or a brand new video game. And now when you use my promo code FlightMike, you'll get 3,000 additional points on your first receipt when you download Fetch Rewards. That's promo code FlightMike for an additional 3,000 points on your first receipt. And thank you, Fetch Rewards, for the sponsorship. Mike check 1212. What's going on, everybody? Guys, as a Los Angeles Lakers fan, you guys already know I try my best to be very realistic when it comes to analyzing this team and very unbiased. So I'm going to start out by saying that we could say definitively that the Lakers trade for Russell Westbrook was a definitive disaster. And by the way, I'm a Russell Westbrook fan. He went to my alma mater. Both of us went to UCLA, although I went there like a few years after he did. So I did want to see him as a Los Angeles Laker at some point in his career, but I felt like the fit of him and LeBron James and Anthony Davis was very clunky at best. And as a matter of fact, it was so clunky and so bad to the point where Frank Vogel, the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, was literally on the hot seat and at risk of losing his job. I want you to understand how crazy that is for a second. A man that literally led the Los Angeles Lakers to an NBA championship in the middle of a freaking pandemic is at risk of losing his job right now because of the roster that he was given. I don't know any head coach that could produce a game plan around Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and when he's healthy, Anthony Davis, because their games just don't mesh. And then you add in the fact they have no depth whatsoever, and then you have a team that's pretty top heavy that isn't that good to begin with, and a team that would be lucky to make it to the play-in. Now, the popular take amongst NBA analysts and NBA YouTubers is this is the 2012 Los Angeles Lakers all over again. It's like when Dwight Howard first came to town, teamed up with Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol, and they decided to trade for a 38-year-old Steve Nash because Mr. David Stern decided to veto their trade for Chris Paul a year prior. This isn't really similar to that because in that season, Dwight Howard was coming off of an injury. The Lakers fired their head coach 3 games into the season. Steve Nash was injured throughout the season. Pau Gasol was trying to just make it work, and then they decided to hire Mike D'Antoni just a few games into the season. It was just a huge disaster. Kobe Bryant was playing 48 minutes per game at some point. This isn't anything like that because at the end of the day, the reason why those Lakers didn't succeed was 1, everyone was injured, 2, they got the wrong head coach, 3, they were too trigger happy. I can make my own video on that, but I think several other YouTubers made great videos on that. But in this instance, the number one parallel I like to draw for this year's Los Angeles Lakers is the 2017 to 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, if you don't remember that season, that was the season where Kyrie Irving was traded for Jay Crowder and Isaiah Thomas. and they completely remade the team and tried to still run it back with just LeBron James, Kevin Love, and a team that was thought to be a little bit more deep at first, but dude, you lost freaking Kyrie Irving. That guy's really good at the game of basketball. What ended up happening is in the middle of the season, things weren't really working out, and LeBron tried everything. He tried bringing Dwayne Wade to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He tried playing different positions. Ultimately, in the middle of the season, what would happen is LeBron James would trade Isaiah Thomas to the Los Angeles Lakers, Lakers after just a handful of games. Derrick Rose and Jay Crowder would get traded to the Utah Jazz, and George Hill and Rodney Hood would get traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers literally traded Dwayne Wade as a favor. They would receive Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. from the Los Angeles Lakers that year as well, and they were able to make it to the NBA Finals, but it was a very weak East. And what I mean by weak East is it was weak enough for LeBron James to literally carry his team to the NBA Finals and then lose to a super team, Golden State Warriors, once again. And ultimately, that seems to be the fate of this year's Los Angeles Lakers squad. At least according to Mark Stein, that's what's happening. So apparently, this sounds very, very comical to me. The Houston Rockets have shown interest in trading John Wall for Russell Westbrook and draft picks. So this is from Mark Stein. Just jumping into this, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, if you really think trading Russell Westbrook for a player that hasn't seen the court all season long is a good idea, and you have to give up a first-round pick in addition to that, I just don't see how that improves the Lakers at all whatsoever. Now, some people like to say that, hey, John Wall's a better three-point shooter than Russell Westbrook, but for their career, at least for John Wall's career, he's a career 32% three-point shooter. Russell Westbrook this year is averaging 30% from three. So I don't know if that's really worth the upgrade, giving up a first-round pick to trade John Wall for Russell Westbrook. I think they have a very similar game as well, and John Wall recently tore his Achilles, but he still was proven to be a pretty good player, like not an all-star, but an above-average contributor for the Houston Rockets. And honestly, I think all basketball fans in their late 20s kind of have a soft spot for John Wall, mainly because of how sick his hoop mixtape was in high school, but I digress. I really don't think this is plausible. I think it's nearly impossible that this happens. I don't see it happening at all whatsoever, but what is interesting and what I think could potentially happen is this trade offer that the Lakers made for Jeremy Grant. Now, the addition of Jeremy Grant alone, to me, is very similar logic to what the Lakers did to bring in Russell Westbrook. Literally, I feel like Rob Pelinka just looks at these players and say,
oh, look, player good. I trade for player and see what happens.
And I think that's literally what's happening here, because the Lakers have offered Talon Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, and their 2027 first-round pick to the Pistons for Jeremy Grant. Bro, this team might not have a first-round pick in literally a freaking decade. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. So let's dive into it. The Lakers need any help at all whatsoever. Jeremy Grant plays the same exact position as Anthony Davis, but if we're being honest, it seems like the Lakers could use any help they could get at this point. Bringing Jeremy Grant off of the bench, or even having the option to tinker with an Anthony Davis at center and Jeremy Grant at power forward lineup, would significantly improve the Los Angeles Lakers. At least that's what I am hoping. Now, would it improve them to the point where they're championship contenders? I don't see it. Mainly it's because I've been watching so much horrible basketball from the Lakers thus far. But personally, I do think that this trade offer was made, because that's pretty much the Lakers saying,
hey, take everything we could possibly offer you and give us Jeremy Grant in return.
I can imagine the Pistons saying,
okay, we hear your offer. We're going to shop around and see if there's any other better offers as well.
So I think this one makes sense. I think this trade offer makes sense. I don't think the trade offer where Russell Westbrook returns to the Houston Rockets, which, bear in mind, this was the team that traded him away. And what doesn't make sense to me is you would think, okay, well, Mike, there might be a new general manager this time, and that's why they want to bring Russell Westbrook back. No, it's not. It's the same freaking general manager making this trade. Like, literally, this is the same exact general manager. And I think the motivation here is the same motivation that they had when they traded Russell Westbrook a year ago. And that's the fact that they just want to get a first round pick, and they don't really see much of a difference between John Wall and Russell Westbrook. So long as they get a first round pick in return, then they're all good with it, which is a pretty decent strategy. I think the only way this strategy could be a little bit better is if they actually played the players that they were trading for, boosted their trade value, kind of like what OKC is doing, and then flipped them. I don't understand why the Rockets shut down John Wall the entire season. I feel like he could have easily come out, averaged something like 23 points per game on this team, and you could have convinced a contender to offer one first round pick. Maybe you could even convince a sucker to offer 2 first round picks for John Wall. But I don't understand. They didn't end up doing that. They just decided to bench him the whole season, and now we're in the situation we're in. The only one that makes sense to me is the Jeremy Grant trade. John Wall, not so much. I feel like that was just a headline that Mark Stein used to get all of our attention, and it worked. Oh, by the way, let me know what you guys want me to put on this wall over here. I am not going to be standing in all of my videos. I just kind of decided to assemble this desk as quickly as possible, and it switches from standing to sitting. So I figured just get in, make videos as fast as possible for you guys. I need to install some panels to fix the echo as well, but I hope it was good enough for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.